How's everybody doing today? We live in some pretty interesting times, right? With everything going on, there's a lot of confusion with some of the ideas that are being thrown at us, especially when it comes to situations like relationships, love, marriage, fidelity. And there's a lot of people going around saying things like love is love and just do what makes you happy. With situations like that, how are we really supposed to react? Because when you say love is love, what does that really mean? That's not a very clear definition. And the way that I was taught is that we're supposed to love, care, and take other people's into consideration in all situations. So when it comes to a home lifestyle or marriage, how should we behave? And is being happy really the end goal in this situation? So how should we seek stability, especially in our home environment? So if we're really seeking answers to this, where should we turn? Where should we look? I personally believe that we should be looking at what our Creator has actually said and how He tells us to live our lives. So many people have different opinions and are running around saying different things, and a lot of those people aren't even saying something that they understand or are living up to what they're saying. So how should we be directing our lives? So the question I have today is, should people be monogamous? We are supposed to live in a state of peace, in our homes, in our minds, and with other people. The Bible gives us an example of how polygamy causes strife and pain in a relationship. And not just polygamy, but adultery or seeing multiple people. In Genesis 29, we can see Jacob marry Leah and Rachel. It says in Genesis 29:30 that Jacob loved Rachel more than Leah. In Samuel's chapter 1 and 2, that Elkanah loved Hannah more than Peninnah. This caused Peninnah to be her rival. She begins to taunt and provoke Hannah because Hannah had no children, causing her great anguish. And in probably one of the most well-known conflicts we see in Genesis 16, how Sarah was harsh to her servant Hagar because she bore children for Abraham when Sarah could not. We don't want to build animosity in our homes or between members of our family. We want to help to cultivate a state of peace and well-being. If we marry multiple people, we are setting up a situation that builds jealousy, unhealthy competition, and the feeling of being less loved or wanted, and opening the door for major disputes within the home. Sabotage, disdain, and overwhelming pain and anguish. This is not something we want to develop. As men and women of God, we want to seek the kingdom first. The Bible teaches us how to live righteously, not as foolish people. Some of the things the Bible teaches us are not to look for a wife in 1 Corinthians 7, and if we are married, to live as though we are not. 1 Corinthians 7:29 through 35. This teaches us to walk in the middle of the two extremes. On one hand, we are avoiding constantly seeking the affection of a spouse, and that may cause us to not properly build a relationship before getting married. We're just running into something without fully thinking it through and building those kinds of lasting relationships. On the other, we avoid enveloping ourselves in our marriage and neglecting friends and responsibilities that we may have. You should love your spouse, but in such a way that allows for healthy boundaries and allow each other to find things to enjoy individually. And that will allow each of you to grow both as people and as a couple. We're also taught not to conform to the patterns of the world in Romans 12:2. In the world, many people are constantly jumping from relationship to relationship, finding new partners, and believing the grass is greener somewhere else. In 1 Timothy 3:2 through 5 and Timothy 3:12, the Bible tells us that elders should have one spouse. Now, I understand that not all of us are deacons or elders of the church, but we should be living in such a way that one day that could be a possibility. According to Matthew 6:33, we are to seek the kingdom of God and His righteousness, not our own. If we look to Philippians 4:8, it says, whatever is true, honest, just, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, or praiseworthy, that we should focus on them. In Psalm 119:15, it encourages us to study the commandments and reflect on the ways of God. Finally, in Isaiah 26:3, it promises us that the Lord will keep all in perfect peace if we trust in Him and have our thoughts fixed on Him. So when we're engaging in a relationship and seeking marriage and moving in that direction, we should be creating a situation where it's going to work out for the best. And in order to do that, who better to listen to than the person who actually created the first marriage? If you guys do have any questions, comments, or want to make any suggestions, go ahead and just send them to me and I'll be getting back to you guys. In 1 Samuel chapters 1 and 2, Elkanah loved Hannah more than Peninnah. This caused Peninnah